some owners that are involved in lawsuits associated with companies that are unqualified and are doing things that they shouldn't have done, and there's a reason we have a lot of sole source agreements with owners. You can provide whatever level of detail is necessary. That may be, there are some language associated with having proprietary confidential information that's not made public that could be available on a server for review. And so, depending on the level of detail that you'd like, we can certainly provide. That would just be designated as a confidential section.
I'm a little caution against that. That's really not part of our submittal and part of what we're doing. That's really above and beyond.
Let's handle that later if we need it.
Okay.
Well, we're going to need to review the failure possibilities for this technique and how applicable they are to the...
In that case, what you're really looking for is the discussion of potential failure mode.
Yes, right.
Failure mode effects analysis.
Right.
We do not.
You don't need to know the specific owner that had this issue and why.
Information.
This is not new ground. If we need to review, they want to submit proprietary material, they know how to label it and submit it properly,
Correct.
and for us to protect it properly. At the same time, if in the process of doing an audit or another review, we happen to review proprietary material, if we rely on an NRC, it has to be docketed, but we can still protect it, but we have to do it that way.
Right.
So this is not new ground.
And that's true. My concern here is that some of this is not going to be our information.
Right.
It's going to be with other companies, other facilities. I don't want to be in the middle of that.
Right.
That's
And at this point in time, we're not asking.
okay, understand. Well, recognize you're looking here, there's no way you want to know failure facts. I get that. So.
But there's not a topical report out there that you can go to and look at. So.
Right.
Now in the metal world, usually stamp a component. You would establish the MDMT, the minimum design metal temperature, where this is a carbon fiber polymer. But do you establish the minimum temperature that this material can be operated, used, and not go below?
We would have criteria that would be limiting its operating region. Within the carbon fiber material, though, these are the epoxies that are being used are the same systems that can be used in applications on bridges in Canada, where the temperatures are far colder than Surry would ever see. So we don't see that being a major limitation for the system. However, we would certainly provide a bracketed window.
And this system is being designed in accordance with our requirements. It's very specific requirements for the system, temperature range being one of them, pressure. There is a design spec, or will be a design spec for this.
So now passing it back over to Lars Gordon from an engineering standpoint to discuss.
All right, since we're getting a little short of time, I'll go pretty quickly here. As we said before, we've done multiple repairs using this technique on our discharge. The piping is the same, it's encased, it's carbon steel, virtually the same, except it's on the discharge side of the system rather than the inlet side. We've used this opportunity to refine and enhance how we do things. So basically, what we said, we tried to treat it as safe related. In the next picture, you'll see the 96-inch in its final form. You can see the expansion ring and the inspection of the top coat. Next one, this is the end barrel on the 42-inch line. You can see the various detailing on how the fabric is put in there. Next slide. This is one of the risers to the CC heat exchanger discharge. That's a brand new butterfly valve. You see the expansion ring. So we go right up to the flange surface. We just don't take credit structurally beyond that. We plan on keeping the same inspection. Currently, we do a flow pressure test on these lines. We will be doing the same for our repair pipe. In addition, we also do a maintenance interior inspection of these pipes on a refueling basis, where we go in and we will be inspecting the carbon fiber, biological corrosion anywhere, and as repair as required if needed. That will be done on a refueling basis.
Right, so going back, just you noted before that you went up further and that you didn't take credit for that.
transition. We can protect the pipe, the corrosion part, because we have the stuff, but the transfer of loads from carbon fiber to the steel occurs at that point.
Okay, just so as all areas in which you're going to do carbon fiber applying it to for a class 3 system need to be identified or as you're applying or changing the design for that system. That was my only, if I wanted to do a little bit more, you weren't really taking credit for corrosion process, or still be concerned about the change of the design for that.
Oh, yeah, I got you. Good point.
I mean, it's currently we put 100% solid epoxy on the surface of this pipe. And one of the reasons we're going to this is that our service life for those epoxies isn't that long. This provides a very long service life for us. It helps us maintain the system and very safe. Okay, next slide. As we stated earlier, we'll be doing this in the 5th interval of both Unit 1 and Unit 2. We do have a common line for Unit 1 and Unit 2, which goes to our CCD changes, which are shared by both units. And that'll be done in our 6th interval. It's a very involved process to dewater that line and separate stuff, so that's at the end. Those are our dates of our intervals.
And I know we can talk about this later, but from a process perspective, just throwing it out there, I'm assuming we would go in for the alternative request for the 5th interval, and then we submit our 6th interval plan, ISI plan. We would just ask for the reapproval of it for the 6th interval, like we do any other relief request.
We may be able to approve this one for the specific jobs that you have listed, even though they go into the next interval. And this is very important, because how you ask for it limits how we can authorize it.
Right.
And what we probably need to do, as right now, and this is subject to discussions between the two of us, but right now, what I would recommend that you do is say that we are requesting relief for these projects which will occur, or which are scheduled to occur on such and such and such and such a date. And I don't see a need at this point, because we're not actually, we're requesting relief from the material issue of the AS&E code. And we're not going into anything that is ISI specific. So in my initial recommendation, which is subject to change, if we change it, it'll be back through Karen, is that you request relief for these specific jobs which are scheduled to occur in these specific outages. And then you can tie on. Just do it that way.
Dave, you got to be careful, because they have specific time periods they have to make the request according to the regulations.
But where we are, we're outside of the concept of what those are. We can authorize alternatives for the life of the plant.
That's true.
We tend to do things in 10-year increments when there are recurring inspection issues to those things.
Yeah. Remember, this is first of a kind.
This is first of a kind, and that's okay. So as we said, this is subject to further discussion.
Sure.
But my initial approach is asked that way. We will get back to you.
So this is stuff we can talk through with the PM, though, because that's normal schedule.
Yep.
That's right.
Right.
Okay.
We will get back to you on with further guidance on that issue.
Okay, thank you.
As I said, this is the first of kind. There's no real precedence for this. We have done non-safety with it. We have a good feeling for it. References is our Section 11, 2004 edition, no addenda, and the 1967 B31-1 for power code piping, which the plant was built to.
Still, it's nice for the president to take credit for the work that you guys have done and be able to identify. I mean, if you're going to provide us those procedures or the previous work and show us your track record of what you've been able to do. So, I mean,
Very good. We plan to submit this under 10 CFR 5050-5A01. which is acceptable level of quality and safety. With that, I'll turn it back over to Gary, and we'll field any questions you might have.
First of all, thank you. We know this has been a bit laborious, but I think the interchange has been very good. We've got 2 pages of notes, all everybody else does, of things we need to consider and make sure that you've got, and I know you've got a lot of notes yourself. If you have any other questions or stuff, we'd be happy to entertain them now, if you've got anything else you want to discuss.
So the duration of the meeting?
How long do you think this will last?
Well, I mean, interacting for, I guess, I mean,
That's not.
I have to do this. Roger's recently imported into my branch. He comes from license renewal, so he has a different perspective on the entire world in there. But it is a good point. Make sure that you make sure that in the request you not only specify, the duration of time over which you're going to be applying this material, but if you want the relief to be for the life of the material in the pipe, make sure you say that. Because initially, in the first 2 HDPE applications, the relief was good for 10 years, as in the pipe can be in the ground for 10 years, but no longer unless you get further relief. Now, in the most recent HDPE request, it was, we're going to do these kinds of follow-on inspections to verify the quality of the pipe, and we want the relief to be good for the life of the pipe. All right. So those life of the plant, life of the pipe, however you want to do, just be clear what it is you're doing, but figure out which way you want to go and be clear about which way you want to go, so that we know how to write the end statement. This either is or is not okay for da-da-da-da-da.
So when I'll offer the alternatives, one is make it easy for us to get something that we can approve to satisfy the need, rather than something so if you have a piece of it that's going to be a longer term part that gets really hard. I hate having something that we can get 90% approval on and we get hung up over 10%. So that's my only point on that. We do need to leave some time for the public though here. Whatever time's up.
oh, yeah.
Do we have any questions for NRC from the public?
David Martin.
Yes.
Is this the first time this pipe installation has been done at a nuclear power station?
For an ASME code class safety piping system, we do believe it is, yes.
Why is Surry being the first test case?
Could you repeat the question, please?
Why is Surry being used as the first test case on this installation?
Surry is the one making the request to use it first. That's simply it. They're the first licensee has sought to use this in a safety class pipe. Others just haven't come to us first.
How long would installation last?
That's something that they would put in their submittal.
And they have, I just want to say they have been using it for non-safety related piping, so it's not totally new to Surry.
What type of piping are we talking about at Surry? What type of piping exactly are we talking about?
So we would be talking about service water piping that would be bringing in water to cool various systems at the plant, which is deemed of a level to require ASME code class 3 piping classification for safety systems.
Okay. What type of problems is Surry having now with the existing piping?
These are pipes that, of course, are experiencing brackish water chemical effects. So it's just pipes they've had that have been in service for a long period of time, and this material would protect it from that kind of degradation.
How many years are they talking about? How long might will last? To 80 years?
At this point, we don't have that information as far as the length of applicability, but that will be something that will be identified in the licensee's relief request, and will be something that the NRC will review as part of our review process.
How long would time a review would take? How long would it take to review?
Typically a year.
At a slow pace or a fast rush pace?
That one I'm not even going to attempt to answer.
And appropriately thorough.
Well, NRC.
Sorry, to get to a proper safety and quality determination.
What type of red flag would pop up on this?
We'll have to find that through the review process. I mean, I don't want to speculate as to where the review will go.
So when would you say stop and do not go far in this? How long would it take?
There's no, I mean, like I said, the typical review process is a year. There's a potential that if there was a problem, we'd find it in the first day, or that we could find it in the 364th day. There's just no way to really answer that question.
So the simple answer is if at some point in time we have a concern with its service for quality and safety, we would not proceed. We would enter into a denial process, or if, as he said on the first day, if the quality of the submittal wasn't good enough, we would not accept it.
What type of risk factor are you taking?
It's probably not going to be a risk-informed submittal. This is a relief request under 10 CFR 5055A of the Code of Federal Regulations. So they already have an approval for use of this piping. It's part of the plant's normal system. They just don't have an approval for this application of new surface material.
This is the first time it's been used in a reactor building, correct?
First time for safety-related piping. Right. It is a very, I won't say it's a very common process, but it's certainly not a new process in piping materials, nor is it a new process in nuclear facilities. But this is the first time in safety-related application.
So which station was the first one to use it?
It hasn't been used yet. It's the first.
In safety-related applications.
Right.
I don't know where the other places are. I know that it is not the first application.
So the non-safety applications didn't necessarily require NRC approval. Oh, I will say this, as technology changes, just like the high-density polyethylene piping we were talking about before, licensees are bringing those kinds of requests to us, as we've had with a couple of plants, because it's more microbiologically induced corrosion resistant than what the prior materials were. And so there are some safety benefits to some of the materials. But again, technology changes and new materials are being used each day. And so if a licensee brings us an innovative request to use new materials, we will entertain it. I don't know that we will approve it, but we will go through that whole process we described to consider it.
Okay.
Any more questions?
No, I don't. No.
Any comments?
Will the presentation materials be available?
Yes, I'll do a follow-up meeting summary.
Hello, this is Erica. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, I'm sorry. I've joined the call a little late, but I do have a couple of questions. From what I understand, from what I just picked up on, I guess my question would be this Class C, are we talking about cooling water that goes into the reactor or to the pool?
No, we would be talking about cooling water, which cools other systems, which then are required for safety.
Okay, could you be more specific than that?
Circulating water and surface water systems.
These are raw water systems that are used then to cool through heat exchangers the water systems that actually interact with the reactor and the various coolers.
So we're talking about radioactive,
No.
It's not, does not come in contact with radioactive. Doesn't go through the vessel. Doesn't go through the primary system at all.
okay.
Secondary side of the plant, for the most.
I'm sorry?
The secondary side of the plant, the turbine side of the plant.
Okay. And I understood earlier when it was mentioned that there seems to be relief requests for various projects. So how many projects are we talking about this is relief request is for?
One project consisting of several pieces that will occur over 7 years if I do my math right.
Mm-hmm. And that's one project?
Yes.
How many projects do we have?
Just the one that we're looking at now.
It has several pieces?
Yes.
And is this material going to be something that's applied, or is this going to be actual piping that's going to be taken out and replaced?
Applied to the inside of existing piping.
So basically it's kind of like a thing where it stop leaking your radiator or something. You pour it in and it kind of adheres to the walls.
No, not at all.
Not quite.
Now, how does it work?
We could
Think about fiberglass and essentially a cloth system that is of very, very high strength that is put in place using epoxy. Now, that's a very simplified concept here, and unfortunately, that was really the subject of the entire meeting, and so I really can't go back through all the details.
Okay, so this is not going to be applied by a human, but more like putting something through the system that...
That will be applied by a human.
So in other words, these are pipings that can be worked on manually.
Yes.
Yeah.
So all the projects that are being asked for relief on the several things are all being applied manually.
Yes.
Okay. And then the other question I have is, I understood it said that no safety-related piping this material has been used on, but in other non-safety-related piping. And being that the NRC has basically told Dominion that in their request not to limit it by, I guess, talking about duration of time, as it goes for the non-safety related piping, I heard them say, I'm sorry, I didn't get everybody's name, but it didn't have to be necessarily approved of by the NRC for non-safety piping. Obviously, y'all have to look at this for relief to approve it. But what stats do you have that this material has lasted 10 years or longer in previous projects at either Surry or other plants with this material?
These materials have been used in non-safety related and in other industries going back into the 80s and 90s. And it's been very effective in doing what it's designed to do.
Okay, but it related to the non-safety related piping, has that been applied at Surry previously?
Yes.
And what system was that?
It's a circulating water system on the downstream side.
The discharge side, the water goes back out to the river.
Okay. And so, has it ever been reviewed or examined after it was applied?
We actually sent people down there who observed it during the installation, as I understand, back in November.
So it was first installed in November?
Yep.
So is anyone ever going to go back and look to see how it's doing?
the quality controls of the plant, operates under a quality control process, and they have established requirements to maintain their plant in a working order. So those requirements have already been established and will be followed.
Well, I understand, but it sounds like the NRC doesn't have any special requirements for that because it didn't even need approval from the NRC.
That's correct.
That is correct.
So, I mean, obviously quality control, I mean, I can appreciate that, but we're talking about now safety-related Class 3 equipment, and y'all just applied that in November, so you don't personally have any specific knowledge of how that's going to behave in a safety-related system. So is there going to be any kind of inspections? I mean, this idea of asking for a lifetime, how did y'all put it, duration, I mean, what are y'all asking for? I mean, is there not going to be a 10-year inspection?
Ma'am, the licensee will submit, and what they discussed today was an inspection program that was consistent with the current piping that's in there now. So if they were to ask for, we will, of course, entertain any requests they make. Whether or not we approve it remains to be seen.
No, but I heard how the conversation was kind of led on to say how you want to state it. And that, to me, is pretty much saying, well, how you want us to write it is how you want to state it. And so, obviously, that was coming from the NRC side, not from the industry side.
Do you have a question?
Well, my question, I guess, is depending on how it's written, is how the NRC will decide on inspecting. I mean, is it going to be 10-year, 15-year, 20-year, or forget it, it's good for life?
It's how we will evaluate their request. All right? Fundamentally, they will make a request to us. It will have time constraints on it, and we will use those time constraints along with the technical information that they present in order to determine whether the application does provide an acceptable level of quality and safety.
Okay, well, I can appreciate that. I guess my last thing that I'd like to ask then is, obviously, these issues are showing up in other plants as they age. And so, with that in mind, what is the alternative that any other facility has used besides using this new route of repair? So, what's the alternative?
I think that's beyond the scope of where we have been today.
Oh, so there is no alternative.
It depends on, it's very plant specific. And because it's plant specific, it's not appropriate for this conversation.
So, ma'am, any licensee can request or propose to use new materials or replace those materials in kind. So it really is very licensee specific. The purpose of the meeting today is to strictly talk about what Surry is proposing for their particular plant.
Well, I can appreciate that. I'm just wondering if no other facility in the industry has used this for this safety system repair. I was wondering what other alternatives have been used within this industry. I don't know why that's a hard question.
The exact same kind of piping they currently have, as well as high-density polyethylene they've used.
Okay. Thank you.
Are there any more questions? Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I asked earlier if meeting materials or the presentation materials will be available. My phone kind of broke up, so I didn't hear a response.
Sir, we did not hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Will the presentation materials be available?
Yes.
Okay. Will it be on the website or?
Yes, it'll be in the public record. I will do a meeting summary.
Okay.
Any more questions? Okay, any comments? Okay, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.